Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum and good evening. My name is Naeem Ahmed and I will be your MC for the evening. SNMC is very pleased to host this event tonight. We welcome our guest candidates, this good-looking bunch right in front of you, and members of the community. Thank you all for your attendance. Shortly, I will invite SNMC President Brother Zulfikar Khan to say a few words on behalf of the organization. Our moderator for the evening will be Brother Ahmed Hussain. He is one of SNMC's most active youth leaders with a very, very bright future ahead of him. Ahmed will also be sharing some important details about the entire event for this evening, and he will also relay the debate rules that everyone here is expected to adhere to. This includes guest candidates and the members of the audience. Just a friendly reminder that everyone, and this is really, really important, please, everyone really needs to take into consideration the venue we are at. Absolute respect of the masjid is expected, and there will be zero tolerance for anything but. So we ask everyone to conduct themselves accordingly. We kindly request that everyone refrain from side chatter or talking aloud. I encourage the candidates and members of the community to make the most of this assembly and look forward to a very productive meeting. And finally, it should go actually without saying, but please, 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 to minimize and eliminate all disruptions, if you can all take your phones out of your pockets, turn off the volumes and the ringers. If you have a call to take, no problem, kindly just excuse yourself. You're more than welcome to do it outside in the hallway. If anyone needs to use the bathrooms, the ladies and men's rooms are out the doors to your right and to the left and right at the end of the hallway. And there's water jugs and some cups available at the back if anyone needs. And now I'll hand over the mic to our president of the South Nepean Muslim Community Organization, Brother Zulfikar Khan. Thank you.
Jazakallah, Brother Naeem. On behalf of South Nepean Muslim Community, and actually some people call it super nice Muslim community, I welcome you all to this community service event. The idea is that the candidates can express themselves, they can present their party's platform, and community can ask them questions. Just to let you know that SNMC as organization does not endorse or support any candidate or any party. All the members, everyone is free to vote to anyone that they feel like. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you, Brother Zulfikar. So now I'll hand the mic over to Ahmed Hussain. Again, he's the moderator for the evening, and he'll relay the specifics of the next steps.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the debate for Nepean writing. For those of you who are not aware, there were also a debate that happened 2 days ago, I believe, on Rogers TV. So if you do want to tune in to more questions regarding discussions on the debate, go to the YouTube link and listen to the candidates for Nepean speak about their positions. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for the debate. In just a moment, I will introduce to you the candidates that are here with us today. But first, I'm going to explain a little bit about how things are going to work. We're going to start with some opening statements from each of the candidates. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to give opening statements. If that time is extended, I would be the bearer of bad news to cut them off. Once again, I apologize if I come in advance and say your time is up, but your time will be up. The order of the opening statements will be from the far right. So that will begin with Azim Hoda, and we'll work our way down to this end. Our closing remarks would be in the reverse order. Okay, so after opening statements, we'll move into a series of debates on important local and national issues on federal elections. I have a list of questions that I will be asking, and we will also be opening the floor to questions. So if you have a question, please prepare it for the candidates. The candidates will have 1 minute to respond to the questions in rotating order. So it will begin from Azim is we'll have the first opening remarks. For the questions, we will start from Chandra, and then we'll move along after every question. And the question will be in rotating order. After I go through a few questions, like I said, I'll open the floor to everyone here today to ask questions. Please keep it very short. I'll be timing it for 15 seconds. refrain from making too many comments. Just ask your question directly to the candidates. If the question is general, then every candidate will have 45 seconds to respond to the question. If the question is specific to a certain candidate, then that candidate will have 45 seconds. Every other candidate will have 30 seconds to make a point to counter or to intercede, and the person the question was addressed to will have 30 seconds to have a closing point on that. Finally, like I said, we'll have the closing statements. They'll be 2 minutes in length, and they'll be in reverse order, starting from Brother Zaf Ansari on this side. Okay, so let us begin with the opening statements. And, well, first let me introduce the candidates, I apologize. On the far right, Azim Hoda, People's Party of Canada. Next to him, Chandra Arya, Liberal Party of Canada, followed by Jean-Luc Cook, Green Party of Canada, then Brian St. Louis, Conservative Party of Canada, and Zaf Ansari, the New Democratic Party of Canada. Okay, and I'll give the floor to Brother Azim Hoda. You have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Greetings to you all. I am Azim Huda, representing the Nepean riding. Okay, is that better? Please, at the back, can you hear me? Thank you. Greetings to you all. I am the Nepean candidate for the People's Party of Canada. We are a new party, a party that is based on principles rather than ideologies. The principles of personal responsibility, individual freedom, fairness, and respect. All our platform, whichever way you look, we always make sure that these principles are adhered to. So you will see that we are doing politics differently, with well-articulated key policies. The People's Party of Canada inspired me to serve the interest of Nepean. Putting simply, prosperity with a robust economy, public safety, and national unity. This is one of the focus of our party. Prosperity with robust economy, what it means is that it's simplifying the tax system, cutting taxes. What it does is it encourages Canadians to save and promote venture capital markets so that businesses can start, so that the next generation has the opportunity of high-paying jobs. Today, there is a big disconnect over the last 2 decades between the cost of living, which is up here, and good-paying jobs, that's there. The gap is widening. The established parties over the last 2 decades have failed to understand that the global economy is changing, and Canada must also provide a paradigm shift to how we can continue to be prosperous in this global, competitive, and innovative environment. Our resource industry has given us that luxury, which day by day is going to pass by. We need to be innovative. We need to be competitive. Now, the other part is to reduce the government spending. We cannot continue to spend what we don't have. It's called deficit spending. And what that does is you create a mountain of debt. Today, Canada is paying every year almost $35 billion to service debt. That money doesn't go to build our future, doesn't provide us security, and worst, it creates that anxiety. What will happen to us?
Thank you very much. Chandra, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. It's a great pleasure to be here at SNMC again. I've been coming here quite regularly. This election, in my view, the choice is clear. During the last 4 years, We said 4 years back that we believe in Canadians, we will invest in Canadians. We did that exactly. We cut middle class taxes. We provided tax-free Canada child benefits. We reformed pensions so that the seniors can have a secure retirement income. We invested in infrastructures, and Canadians responded to it. Canadians created 1 million jobs during the last 4 years. The unemployment today is at 40 years low. Unemployment 40 years low. The youth unemployment is at the lowest on the record. So we will continue to do what we said 4 years back. We have done a lot, but we have to do more, and we'll continue to do that. And when I said choice, there's a very clear choice. You just heard from the PPC candidate, Azim Huda. What he didn't say is more important. His party has got a declared principle of cutting immigration. His party has declared principle of abolishing multiculturalism. Is that the Canada we want? We, Liberal Party, we always believed in diversity, inclusiveness, and we recognize immigration is a source of strength that is required for Canada. And we have the Conservative candidate here. We all have seen 10 years of Stephen Harper's rule, and it has not changed. In fact, the choice, there's a glaring difference between us and them. Let me take a couple of examples. One is the gun ban. We want to ban assault rifles, the kind of rifles used for killings in the United States. His party wants almost everybody to own them. Second, Donald Trump, the Conservative Party of Canada here wants to follow Donald Trump. Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And the only Western leader, whether in Europe or North America, only person to follow him is Conservative leader Andrew Scheer. So there's the stark difference here, choice here. You have seen us, you have seen me, how I work in the community. You have seen how our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau performs. So whether you...
Thank you very much. Jean-Luc, the floor is yours.
Thank you. There's been a lot of talk in the opening statements so far about statements of principle. Well, the Green Party has principles as well. We are a global movement, and every Green Party across the world adheres to 7 principles. They're everything from ecological wisdom to sustainability. There's also another one that's also very important to us, nonviolence. And we take these principles to guide our thinking on many issues. We have been criticized in the past for criticizing certain governments around the world when they engage in violent action. And because we adhere to our principle of nonviolence, we think it's important to call out governments when they perform violent acts, because violence just begets more violence. And as Canada, if we want to be a nation that facilitates peace around the world, we think it's important that we don't pick sides, but we do criticize when people cross the line. I want to bring attention to the area of Jammu and Kashmir in India. I know many of you have family that are back in that part of the world, and it must be heartbreaking being unable to contact them by telephone. A lot of internet access has been restricted. The interim government in Jammu and Kashmir has been basically suspended, for the lack of a better word. And Mr. Arya, I know he is our member of parliament, but I personally had hoped that your influence within Mr. Trudeau's government could have got him to speak more clearly on that violation. The Green Party has put out a statement about it. Chrystia Freeland, the foreign minister, but has fallen short about criticizing the disproportionate reaction to that. So there are other principles within the Green Party as well. Sustainability. Economic sustainability is very important to us. When we see the effects of climate change that is coming about, it's tempting for people who think very passionately to say we have to just stop oil outright. The Green Party thinks that's just unrealistic. We can't transition that many people into a new economy, into new jobs. But we do recognize that the science says we have to stop burning things to make electricity. We have to stop burning things for transportation. And we have to start now, because that trajectory to go down to almost zero takes a decade to reach. It means we have to begin now to have sustainability moving forwards. I'm an engineer and a small business owner. So in politics, sometimes small business owners and engineers aren't the best fit because we're very practical. We say, I have to deliver, I have to execute, I have to make sure a building doesn't fall down. And politics is often very aspirational. But I think it's very important to remember that small business is very much ignored in Parliament. Big businesses have lobbyists, small business generally does not. And I think it's important to have that voice of engineering and small business within Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brian?
Good evening, everyone. Assalam alaikum, if I got that right. Thank you to the SNMC organizers for having us here tonight. I see we're ramping up the division and the fear already. I will be absolutely clear. I'm here running as Brian St. Louis for today's modern Conservative Party. I am not here from the Harper government. I am not here from Donald Trump. Any suggestion such as that is nonsense. So if we want to talk about what I believe and what our party believes, I'll be happy to do that tonight. I'm running in this election because I want to fight for the community I grew up in. I think Nepean deserves better than the tax hikes, the ethical violations, the broken promises, and the embarrassing international failures we have seen over the last 4 years. Justin Trudeau has failed Canadians at almost every turn. We have immense deficits, life is getting more expensive, and crime is getting worse. In fact, all he has pretty well accomplished over the last 4 years is legalizing marijuana, and he didn't even do that properly. We know who gets ahead in Justin Trudeau's Canada. It's SNC-Lavalin, it's Loblaws, it's friends of the Liberal Party, it's not you. This government has lost credibility, and I know many of you listening realize that we need a change. I will be that change, and I will be part of a government that puts your voice ahead. I also believe it's time Nepean had a fresh voice representing it locally. We need an MP who will be active, collaborative, and work across our community to get things done. People are tired of political stunts, selfies, and photo ops. I'm almost certain I have knocked more doors than everyone on this stage put together, probably many thousands more. Why? Because it is my job to hear from you and to represent your voice. Conservatives in the SNMC community share many, if not most, priorities. We're the party of entrepreneurship and small business, the party of freedom, including religious freedom, and the party of family over big government. These are the priorities that I know many of you share, and I've spoken with hundreds of you at the doors, many right here at SNMC, and others across Nepean. I'm asking you today to choose the party that represents your values and that will make positive changes for your family. As your member of Parliament, I will be your fresh voice and help you get ahead. My name is Brian St. Louis, and I'm asking for your vote on October 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. Zaf, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, SNMC board, for inviting us to the debate. Respected Brother Imdad, who is the founder of SNMC, and dear President. And assalamu alaikum to all sisters and brothers here. Let me tell you, so this election is all about affordability. So wherever I go, like from past few weeks, I have been knocking on the doors, and what I hear is people just complaining that they can't pay their bills. They can't pay for the child care, they can't pay for their medicines, and they can't afford the tuition cost. It's getting expensive every day. And the just liberal government, what they have done, like they did basically given $14 billion to the corporations, write-offs to limousines and jets, and they signed $4.5 billion Trans-Mountain pipeline, which is not good for the climate. What we are NDP stands for NDP. We have a new deal for people. What we stand is like we stand for the people. We want to invest in public. We want to invest in the Canadians, everyday Canadians, like working families, so that they can have a better life for their kids, for their future. So people are worried, so they can't afford it. So NDP, we are going to invest in the pharmacare. So Canada is the only developed country in the world which has a public healthcare system without pharmacare. So NDP is the only party which is telling that that we are going to include the pharmacare. So every Canadian, like our immigrants who come here who don't have the insurance, can have access to every medicine that they deserve. They don't have to pay using their credit card to buy medicine, or they don't have to decide whether they can afford the medicine or they can get food on the table. So we are going to get pharmacare and dental care for every Canadian or every citizen in this country, like for all immigrants, including the immigrants. And we are going to write off the federal interest. Our students who are like who work hard and got graduated, and the government right now they are taking interest on their student loans. So the students are stressed out. So they need to find out jobs so they can start. Once they start working, so they can start investing in the economy so they can pay the loans. So now, right now, they have so much burden that they have to pay.
Thank you, Zaf. Time is up.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, I have a list of questions that have been provided from the community, which I will be asking the candidates here today. I want to remind those in the room to also, if you have questions, please prepare them, and please try to limit them to 15 seconds for the questions. There are mics in the room that will be made available after I go through a few questions that have been provided from the community. As I mentioned as well, the questions will be asked in alternating order. So next up we have Chandra Arya, and we'll go on down the line and then end up with Asim. And my following question will begin from Jean-Luc and move down that way. So everyone will have the chance to start answering a question, and everyone will have a chance to finish answering the question. And as well as I said, if a question from the crowd is directed at a certain individual, then they will have the opportunity to answer the question, and then at the end to respond to comments from other candidates. My first question: if you were elected this year, what will you first introduce to act independently and serve the people in this room, the people of Nepean, on the federal stage? Speaking on behalf of the riding to the leadership. You have 1 minute. Chandra.
One of the best things about being a Liberal Party member is that the party does allow us to be independent in our views. You know, I'm one of the only 10 MPs out of 338 who could get my private legislative proposal passed into law. My private member's bill on hate crimes today is law. Many a times when things matter to what my constituents wants, is something what the government opposes, I oppose the government. Example is on the genetic discrimination bill, the party, the government, the Liberal government wanted us to vote against it, I voted for it. That's the bill that said the insurance companies and others cannot discriminate a person based on the genetic testing. So I have acted independently when required, and have acted along with the party when required so. I have been always active in the community. I've always been available. I had 1,100 individual meetings with constituents.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
John?
Thank you. The Green Party, if you've been following the news, talks a lot about how we don't whip our votes, which means every Green member of Parliament acts on behalf of their constituents. We just happen to follow the core principles of the Green Party. So in fact, in a minority parliament, which is what every poll is projecting right now in the coming election, Green MPs will actually have disproportionately more influence within Parliament than other members of Parliament. So what would I advocate for on behalf of Nepean? Nepean, we are in suburbia, but we are actually one of the most entrepreneurial ridings in the country. And as a small business owner, this is very important to me. What I would like to see have done is investments in small business. If you make an investment and it grows and you become and you do well, congratulations. And you sell your share for capital gains, congratulations again. We would have the taxes on those capital gains deferred, just like an RRSP, under the one condition that you reinvest again into another small business. So now small business investment can be a way to grow your investment. Thank you.
Thanks, John Luke. Yeah, so I think the question ultimately was, what is the first thing we're going to do for Nepean? And there's a lot of things, and we'll have a lot of time to talk about that. It's interesting talking about the Liberal Party being allowed to be independent. I think Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott would have a very, very different view of what was just said. This is a party, you're not even allowed to be pro-life and run as a candidate for that party, so this doesn't sound like independence to me, but you can decide that. Ultimately, the first thing we need to do here, I think for Nepean, is get Phoenix fixed. There's a lot of issues facing our community. Ultimately, we have a lot of public servants here that have not been paid or not being paid properly. I will be absolutely committed to pushing within leadership to get our public servant paid correctly and on time, no more excuses. That'll be one of the first things I'll be pushing for from Nepean. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Zaf.
So in Nepean, we see we have a lot of people working in the public sector, and they take the bus. So I see that the transportation is a big issue. So if I'm elected, so I will work hard to make sure that the transit funds flow smoothly to Nepean, so we can have the LRT going. And also I will try to see the immigration rules get a little bit loose. So right now, even though the Liberal government is accepting the refugees, but their policies are not good. So they can't reunite with their families. Like a wife is here with kids, but their husband is in another country. So it's really putting pain on the families. So we will make sure we'll push to relax the rules so that the families can reunite and they can have a better and affordable living.
Thank you very much. Azim, you have 1 minute.
In the 1980s, when I immigrated, just like many, is that okay? In the 1980s, when I immigrated, like what you are doing today and many following, Ottawa used to be the Silicon Valley of the North. What that really meant, the cost of living was here. My salary was there. What happened in the 20, 30 years? The established parties here that seem to say they are doing a jolly good job, they have made an utter mess. What they have left is for you to be dependent on their handouts. Is this the life of dignity? Is this the future you want for your children? Please think. I'm not saying one is right, one is wrong. Think before you vote. What I shall do is establish the Nepean South High-Tech Corridor, pass through legislation where we will make sure that there is deregulation of the telecom market so we can
Thank you very much,
foreign
Azim. Your
investments.
time has been is up.
Thank you.
For our next question, no worries. If a question is directed at you, you'll have a chance to respond. For our next question, we'll start off with Jean-Luc and then move down the line here. Following recent blackface, brownface controversy and past divisive politics in Canada, what is your stance on racism, Islamophobia, and what actions will your party take to address this?
Thank you. For those of you who have watched the Rogers debate, this also came up. It was the very first question. And for me as a Canadian, in another political party, I really didn't expect Justin Trudeau to have done that. I have to try and explain to my children who go to school with their friends from every color of skin and every faith in our community, how difficult it is to explain that we have a prime minister that thought it was a good joke to do this. Now, As I said also last night, I don't believe Justin Trudeau is racist. I think he had a severe lack of judgment. Perhaps he wanted to be the center of attention. I don't know what it was. But it's utterly unacceptable in our society today to do this. Multiculturalism isn't just an idea. Multiculturalism is who we are. 50 years ago, we were worried about Italians or Irish or some other ethnicity that was coming into Canada. Look, it's always going to...
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Brian.
Thank you. Yes, as John Luke mentioned, this did come up last night. And I'll tell a quick story. I was knocking doors and I ran into a gentleman, not a supporter of our party. That's okay, because I'll talk to everyone. And he looks at me and he says, "You guys don't actually expect people to believe Justin Trudeau's a racist, do you?" I'm like, no, not at all. I think he's a liar and a hypocrite. And all he did was look at me and smile and nod. And this is a supporter of the Liberal Party. We have been absolutely clear as a party. I will be someone that treats everyone equally with respect, dignity, and empathy. I have a quote here from Andrew Scheer. "There's absolutely no room in a peaceful and free country like Canada for intolerance, racism, and extremism of any kind." That is the bottom line. That is what you're going to see from our government. That is what I will be fighting for, and that is what you will always see from me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think Justin Trudeau is a racist, but I do feel that it's an error on his judgment. So, but regarding the racism, NDP, we are very clear. So we are very clear. We support the hijab and everything. All other parties, they don't even they don't come out clearly. But NDP is the only party that openly supports hijab, and they support everything like this. So people in this country has a right to practice what they believe. So we can't like suppress their rights. So that's what we stand for. As we are all Canadians from multicultural background, that's the beauty of this country. So that's what we stand for, and that's our values. So I think so that's what we support, and we completely against. We stand up with people who have been got.
Thank you very much, Zaf.
Thank you.
Please pass the mic along. Thank you very much. One minute. The floor is yours.
Okay, I thought you said 1 minute for you.
No, sorry, I apologize.
Mr. Trudeau. Sorry, I'm not sure. Can we just maybe just check with? Is that okay? There's something there, please. Okay, thanks. You know, is that better now? Thank you. You know, when I came in the 80s, I was just a Canadian. Now I seem to get all kinds of labels. I am not this, I am this, I am like this, I look like this. What a mess they are making of humanity. The ill-fated mantra of Mr. Trudeau, diversity, it's elevating differences, it's causing anxiety, appeasing extremism, fostering divisions, and polarizing our united country. I believe in a model that is probably very ethical, and what we talk about is that we shall reinstate
Thank you
a
very
vibrant
much.
democracy
Time
with
is up.
pluralism as opposed to diversity. Thank you.
I think it's my mic, I apologize.
Blackface. It was wrong then, it is wrong now. There's absolutely no denying that. Hardly anybody touched on Islamophobia. I gave 60-second speech on the Parliament on Islamophobia. 60 seconds. Every single word is available on the web, on the Parliamentary website, and on my Facebook. After I gave the speech, the amount of attacks by email, by phone call is unbelievable. Intolerance is growing today. Jami Umar Mosque in Bells Corners in Nepean, the white supremacist defaced the walls of the mosque with extreme thing. Unfortunately, in the last 4 years, I've been seeing intolerance is growing. It should not happen. Canada belongs to us all. It is not to any particular group. We are committed to be inclusive. We have proven, we have shown our commitment.
Okay. My next question. And after this question, I will open the floor to questions. So please have your questions ready. Minority communities are fearful of rising populism and far-right extremism, particularly Muslim communities, many of them who are here today. What actions are you taking to tackle it? And should more resources be provided from the federal government to support religious institutions to beef up their security?
So there was ultimately a program that came out from the government to increase security at places of faith. It actually really set into me. I was visiting some of our Sikh friends at the Gurdwara a few weeks ago, and they actually have kind of guards, and they're watching, and you can tell there's a sense of unease. And I'll be honest, I found it a bit disturbing and sad and disappointing that we're seeing that in Canada. I will be part of a government that will treat every Canadian like a Canadian. There is no difference between Canadians. We are equal under our rights, and this is what we need to focus on. There's been a lot of talk from Mr. Trudeau, and his statement has commonly been, diversity is our strength. I think he's missing the bigger picture here, though, and this is what our leader, Andrew Scheer, said. Diversity is not our strength. It is freedom that is our strength, and it's our freedom to accept others, to believe as we believe, to practice as we choose, to associate as we like. This is what is the underlying principle that'll protect a multicultural and diverse society, and that's what I will fight for.
So I think after the New Zealand attacks, so minorities are feeling insecure in this country. So what I believe is we should have stringent measures, and we should provide support and funding to all the religious institutions like temples, mosques, churches and all, so that they can feel secure when they come to pray here, so they should not feel for their life. So we should increase the security. So if government can give them funding, so they would be able to provide all those things. So what I believe is the multiculturalism is that's the soul of Canada. So all religions, from people from all backgrounds, from all ethnics, so they have all the right what they believe in. So they can practice what they believe. So we can't stop anybody, or we cannot terrorize them so they get scared or they stop following their religion. So we should be
Thank you very much.
Wisdom tells us prevention is better than cure. The PPC party shall reinstate a vibrant democracy, revitalize. We are going to change from diversity mantra to a pluralistic culture through shared values, leading to increased harmony. And this will provide us security, not just for the nation, but for the citizens of this beautiful country. The PPC shall ensure that we have no more curtailing of freedom of thought, freedom of expression, because the purge on freedom of thinking and expression, it is a purge on the very beauty and essence of life.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
After the New Zealand killing of Muslims in the mosque, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau came to SNMC, met 1,400 brothers and sisters. That was very important gesture on our part. But on that day, more important than meeting 1,400 people here, in this very room, he met I think around 20 young Canadians. He listened to them patiently for more than 30 minutes. Probably he spent more time listening to young Canadians on their concerns about what is happening today across the world than he spent time up there. You know, security is important for all religious minorities. In addition to the 2 mosques here, in our riding, we have got 2 synagogues. We have got Ottawa Torah Center in Barhaven. When there was a graffiti there, I worked hard to get them funding to improve the security infrastructure. Not only that, we changed the entire rules in the federal government so that any religious institution or any institution can apply for security infrastructure. Thank you.
Of course, the Green Party will fund increased security infrastructure for places of worship. This is a request that's coming from many different cultural and religious groups. It's very disturbing for me to hear this happening. So as your MP, what can I do to help improve things? Frankly, you have to start walking the walk and talking the talk of multiculturalism. Now, when I go to the Jami Omar Mosque, because my girls want to go there, their friends go there and they want to invite them in to play, of course we go. When they have a festival, we go. When we get invited to the synagogues, we go. But of course, that doesn't make the press, that doesn't make the news, that doesn't make a lot of attention because it's just Jean-Luc that's going. Jean-Luc, as the Green MP, going to places of worship and participating in the cultures that are all through our riding is the way that's done. You have to express that. And I know that, that Chandra has done that as well, but that is a very important aspect to it. Thank you.
At this point, do we have any questions from the floor? We have a mic on the left side and a mic on the right side here. A lot of hands. This is very, very good. We'll have ladies go first. So if we have yourself, welcome to the mic. As I said, if the question is addressed to a specific candidate, please address them clearly. That candidate will have 45 seconds to respond. Other candidates will have 30 seconds to intervene, and that candidate will have 30 seconds to close off.
Hi, I'm Robin. I have a question for all of you. I'd like to know what each of your positions on Canada's investments in foreign aid are, and what role you think Canada should play in international development and global health.
Thank you very much. There'll be 45 seconds for each candidate. We will start with Zaf.
That's a good question. So I've the last 4 years, I've been reading that the Canada has decreased the funding that they give to the countries is like less than 0.7%. That's a lot of money. So I think we should be doing better. So we should be helping the countries that are struggling with whatever is going on in their countries, with poverty or whatever disturbances. So I think we should be doing better, and as Canada, as a part of G20 countries, has more responsibilities as a peacekeeping mission, so as a peacekeeper. So we should be doing...
Thank you, Zaf. Time is up.
Thank you.
Azim, the floor is yours.
Your question is so appropriate because I have lived in all those developed countries. I have to say one thing. Your aid is dead aid. Read the book from very proficient academics from East African universities or Asian continent. What you are doing is perpetuating inefficient government. You are perpetuating dictatorships in these countries, and this is not the only cause, but this is the prime cause of all the mess that you see around in the world. The West is playing a hypocritical game by saying, we are giving you aid. It is not so. I have lived in those countries. I have shared citizenships of those countries. 4 citizenships
Thank you, Azim.
in my life.
Chandra, the
Thank
floor
you
is
for that
yours.
question.
You have 45 seconds.
Absolutely, I disagree. I've seen the amount of aid we give and the importance, the good work that happens. I've seen how it is helping end tuberculosis in rural parts of Kenya. I've seen how HIV patients in Africa are getting affected. The Conservative Party has already announced that they are going to cut 25% foreign aid. In fact, they reduced the funding to UNRWA, the organization that helps Palestinian refugees, especially women and children, to $0. We have restored funding. Donald Trump also cut funding to UNRWA. We have restored funding to UNRWA so that the Palestinian refugees are taken care of, the Palestinian women and children. Foreign aid is very important. As Canadians, we believe that we, in addition to taking care of our own here, the poor and the needy in Canada.
Thank you very much, Chandra. I will ask everyone to refrain from clapping. This is a nonpartisan debate. We want to make sure everyone has a voice. The floor is yours.
Nobel Prize winning Prime Minister of Canada, Lester B. Pearson, set an international goal of 0.7% of GDP for foreign aid. This is not done purely out of goodwill. It is also a very valid and very conscientious strategic decision. When you're a child, you look into your friend's lunchbox, not to see if they have something that you don't, but you see, is there something that they're missing? In international development aid, this is done to help other countries so that they remain stable, because frankly, keeping stable and healthy and democratic and worthwhile countries around the world is in our own interest, even in the most selfish terms. Increasing foreign aid is a very valuable pursuit.
Thank you very much,
Decreasing it is
Jean-Luc.
not. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. It is true. We have, as a party, proposed to cut 25% of foreign aid. I don't believe a country like Russia, who's a relatively wealthy country and fairly hostile to Canada, should be getting foreign aid. China is a very wealthy country. We're sending foreign aid there. North Korea, this is a hostile regime where I do not believe foreign aid should be going. I hear, again, I've hit about 15,000 doors. Do you know what I hear again and again? I want a government that's focused on governing for Canadians and helping Canadians. We have a lot of problems here, and we need to address these. And that is not to say we don't do foreign aid. We're going to have a plan that's going to focus on countries that are the lowest social development to help them, the ones that really need it. We don't want to be funneling Canadian taxpayers' dollars into Russia. That does not make any sense. I'm glad you brought up
Thank you very much. Time is up. Back to the floor. We have a question right here.
My name is Anthony Lawson, and my question is directed to the Liberal candidate and the Conservative candidate. It has to do with selective apologies. Our Prime Minister has apologized to many groups. What about an apology to Jody Wilson-Raybould, Jane Philpott, and especially Mark Taylor?
Thank you.
We will not apologize for SNC-Lavalin. We will stand for the jobs. Canada is the only country in the Western world that doesn't have the deferred prosecution agreement to save the companies. Canada is losing its multinational companies, the big companies that were out there representing Canada, Canadian businesses in different parts of the world. We don't have any more. Nortel was allowed to close down. SNC-Lavalin was the only engineering company across the world. If any executive has done any mistake, they should be prosecuted, they should be convicted. We stand for that, but certainly we will not apologize for standing up for Canadian jobs.
So we're doubling down on SNC. Good to see. Okay. This is a shocking tack, and SNC-Lavalin is not Nortel. Nortel went under for a lot of reasons. SNC was buying dictators' sons' yachts. There was massive corruption in Bangladesh. There's about 100 companies that are SNC affiliates that are banned by the World Bank from bidding on contracts. So this isn't some political thing. This is a corrupt company who is acting inappropriately. By that mindset, we might as well have more organized crime. They employ people. Well, whatever, who cares? We don't need a judiciary. We don't need independent justice. What I see from the Liberal Party, and I do not need to lecture people here on this, they want to pursue identity politics, division, fear, and they're going to back corruption. I do not need to tell a lot of people here what this will do to a country.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Zaf, and we'll have other candidates to give 30 seconds to respond.
I think the Ethics Commission has found the Justin Trudeau guilty of SNC level because he does deferred prosecution, and it has been proved that the jobs that Mr. Chandra Arya is talking that he tried to save jobs, that is not true. So it was not about jobs, so it was about corruption. So it's all clear, and he said he stand with the women, and when Jody Wilson and Phil Pott stand against him, so he fired them. So I think that's not
Time's up. Thank you very much, Zaf. Thirty seconds.
What we are talking about is the very principle of success in life. It's ethics. Ethics is not something that's written or defined, but it is action. Mr. Trudeau has been twice, literally been declared as unethical. That's okay, maybe, because you can't define it so well. That's perspective. Now the next, rule of law.
Thank you, Azim. That's 30
he really
seconds.
sidestepped
Jean-Luc,
rule of law,
the
and
floor
that
is yours
terrible.
to speak. 30 seconds.
The Green Party is very encouraged that Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott are choosing to run independently. We look forward to speaking to them after the election, whatever may come. The jobs at SNC-Lavalin were not at risk. Good engineers, we're going to still work on all the road projects in Canada. The jobs are not at risk. SNC executives were at risk. And really, SNC-Lavalin has been a rotating door for Liberal and Conservative insiders for decades. There's a reason why they was stepped in to try to save them. It's for political
Thank
reasons.
you very much, Jean-Luc. Brian first, and then Chandra to close off. You have 30 seconds. Sorry, Jean-Luc.
Judicial independence and the integrity of our justice system is a pivotal, fundamental underpinning of how this country works so well. It's the same as our rights. When you start picking and choosing and getting flexible and letting a few things slip, what happens? Corruption at the level of government, the highest levels of government, when a company can come in and tell the PMO what they need to do so Justin Trudeau can save seats in Quebec. Is this what you want from your government? Zaf said it right. There was no jobs at risk. This is nonsense.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. Chandra, 30 seconds.
Canada is the only country that doesn't have a working deferred prosecution agreement. Take Germany, France, UK, US. Whenever there is corruption, the executives are punished. That's a given. That has to be done. No executive should be allowed to go scot-free. But that doesn't mean that we should close down. We should take actions that lead to closing down of companies like SNC-Lavalin. Canada has got very limited
Thank you very
number
much,
of...
Chandra. I apologize. We have to cut off the time. We have a question from this side. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. You've answered one of my questions about foreign aid and hopefully for the grandmothers to grandmothers, helping the African grandmothers bring up their grandchildren. My question is for childcare, for a national program on childcare to make sure that women can go back to work, get training, and make sure that they can get permanent jobs, not just part-time ones. We're finding that most of the full-time jobs go to men, and if women had a national childcare program, we could do much better to have them permanently in the workforce and able to go back to work after they've had their children and in between times. I only had 6 weeks of maternity leave the first time and 4 months the second, and that was the way it was 30, 40 years ago. Could I have your comments, please, on that?
I think it starts.
Yeah.
You get first go.
45 seconds, Azim.
You know, it all boils down to how good your employer is doing financially, in terms of profit performance, in terms of productivity, and they can afford a lot of benefits once countries are providing an environment where businesses are profitable and where businesses can make investments, not only just in their capital investments, but investments in their employees, which is their future when they come. So we are going back to the very thing. What is undermining all these companies to do their fair job of what we call providing basic facilities to facilitate your future, because your future is the company's future in return. We don't have that. We have lost it.
Sandra, the floor is yours. You have 45 seconds.
You know, when we came to power 4 years back, we increased the Canada Child Benefit and we made it tax-free. That helps a lot of young families with children. 9 out of 10 families in Canada have been benefiting out of that Canada Child Benefit. We are increasing that benefit again in the next 4 years. Coming to the child care, we have created a national child care framework. We had created some spaces. It is basically organized, delivered by the provinces. We are committed to increasing the funding again in our 2019 proposal so that more child care places are available for the parents with their children. And within that specifically, that the spaces are available beyond the normal working hours so that the parents.
Thank you. The Green Party's platform is very simple. We look to Quebec, where they have a child care program. We want to have a national child care program. The world did not come to an end in Quebec when this was brought in. So ignore any fear-mongering that comes out of it. What is important about having a national child care program is it gives parents the ability to choose whether to stay at home with your child or pursue work. An expense pursuant to income is a good investment in any economy. Thank you.
I should highlight for a second, it was the Conservative Party that actually introduced the child benefit, and at the time your colleague Mark Holland said parents are just going to spend that on beer and popcorn. So this is the mindset the Liberals normally have towards this. I believe childcare, put more money back in parents' pockets. They are the ones that know what they need. Some people work shift work. A national childcare program that shuts down at 4:30 is not going to work for them. We would kill lots of entrepreneurs if we have big government running childcare, which I don't think would go well, period. Frankly, I have a 3-year-old. I spent a lot of money on childcare. It's actually a nice family that's a member of the congregation here that watches my daughter, and they do a fantastic job. So I want to give families more money in their pockets, to give them flexible options, to go into childcare centers, to home-based daycare, whatever works for your needs. That's what we're going to focus on.
Liberal government has promised for national child care like 26 years ago, and now those kids, when they promise, they are moms and they are looking for child care for their kids now. So NDP is the only party that is talking about the universal child care. I have visited many doors and I talked to a lot of moms. They have to give up their jobs because they can't afford the child care. It's too expensive. So they have to give up their job and take care of their kids. So I think NDP, we have already tried in British Columbia, $10 per day, and it has been a big success. So that's what NDP, we are trying to do, so we can have a universal child care, so we can work with provinces and territories and municipalities, so we can implement it here, so every family can have child care at affordable.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Sorry. I want to make sure that there are 2 mics on the floor. There's one over there. Put your hand up first. Hamid, show us the microphone. Please indicate yourself to him to facilitate the questions being asked. And then Michael on that side as well. You have a question right there. As we answer the question, please make sure you coordinate with him. Go ahead.
So Palestine, and especially Jerusalem, is very important to many Muslim Canadians. And following Trump's lead, this question is for Mr. St. Louis. So following Trump's lead, the conservative leader Andrew Scheer, he promised to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Are you in agreement with that?
Well, thank you for the question. I answered this actually this week. That's a little background here. I am a guy from Bar-Haven. I have friends of Palestinian heritage. Our EDA president for our Conservative Association is Palestinian. I have friends of Jewish heritage. I'm not going to play the back and forth and try to pit everyone against each other. That is the last thing I want to do as your representative. Ultimately, what I believe for Palestine is we need to support their human rights. We need to provide education. We need to provide health care. What I believe is the intent of moving the embassy is that we will have better relations with Israel. If we are able, the way we can make change is by having positive relations. If I come out tomorrow and I start yelling about how much, I have frustrations with Israel, I'm the last person in the world that can be effective advocating on Palestinians' behalf. So I want to see better outcomes for Palestinians. It's important.
Chandra Arya, the floor is yours. Zaf, can you give it to Chandra, please? Sorry, Zaf. Chandra?
We are absolutely clear. We will not recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. We have made it very clear. I have been to Palestine with my wife at our own cost and with the Green Party leader Elizabeth May and 16 other MPs. I think out of that only me and Elizabeth May, we paid out of our own pocket for the travel. Me and my wife, we went, we saw the living conditions in Palestine under the barrel of the gun. We saw the real hardship faced by the Palestinians. We stand by the Palestinians. Absolutely, we are working for two-state solution. We want peace things to be negotiated.
Thank you very much. Jean-Luc, the floor is yours. You have 30 seconds.
It's difficult for people who have not been or lived or have spent a lot of time appreciating the complexity and the difficulty of Israel and Palestine to understand how damaging it is to Canada's image in that conflict, declaring that we recognize Jerusalem as the capital. Former Prime Minister Joe Clark, who was a progressive conservative before they were just conservative, attempted to do that, and he rolled it back because
that is 30 seconds.
Anyway, we would not
Zaf,
do that.
the floor is yours. Zaf, right here. And then we'll go back to Azim and then Brian for closing.
I think he asked the question to just St. Louis, not everybody.
Everyone has a chance to respond, and Brian St. Louis has a chance to close off the question. Thank you very much.
NDP is clear on this. We denounce the occupation wherever it is, like either Palestine or Kashmir or anywhere. So I saw in the first debate that Andrew Scheer, he was criticizing Russia for annexing the Crimea. But when asked about the Palestine, he did not answer. And NDP is clear that we don't support moving our embassy to Jerusalem. We are in solidarity with Palestinians. It's really like, caging of
Thank you,
children.
Zaf. Azim, you have the floor. If we can have a runner for the mic on the front, please pass it around.
Actually, I'm glad to answer this question because I talk from experience. I have worked in Israel myself. I have worked in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And also I've had a chance to travel through 90 countries in the world, worked in 4 continents. Canada's foreign policy is short of disaster. Why do I say that? When you travel around, Canada is now one of the loneliest countries when it's trying to impose whatever it considers value, democracy, onto other
Thank you,
countries
Azim.
without realizing they are equally
Brian,
free country.
you have 30 seconds to respond once again.
Well, thank you. And I know it's a difficult question, and I appreciate that. What I want to say is I realize that there's some frustrations on this topic. I understand that. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that priority or that policy is going to change because I'm not going to be a liar and stand up here and make stuff up. What I can tell you is the way to shift politics, parties are reflective of the people that get engaged. A harsh fact, very few Palestinians probably voted for the Conservatives last election. I think some of that's fair, and I think that's reasonable in certain ways. I would say if you want to see change, if you're agreeing with our party on 80, 90% of things you find, you can create change, get involved, and that's how those things happen. Thank you.
Question, mic on that side. Like I want to say it again, please, folks in the crowd, it's hard for me to sort of point at you. Try and talk to those who have the microphones to ask your questions. So we'll go here and then back on this side.
Okay, my question is for Mr. Ansari. The ability to practice our religion, including wearing hijab without discrimination, is very important to us. Under Bill 21, public servants in Quebec would be prohibited from wearing religious symbols, including hijab. Why is it that your leader, Mr. Singh, who supposedly symbolizes Canada's multiculturalism, took the same stance as the Conservatives and did not oppose this bill, rather than at least leave it open like the Liberals?
Thank you. So the bill you're talking, even the Liberal Party, they are not clear on this. So even they have not said. So because this issue is in the code, So that's why, like, we are not taking the stand. So I don't want to comment on it. So thank you.
We'll stay in that loop.
Canada is founded on principles of secular state and the rule of law. We also are a multi-party democratic system with well-defined federal jurisdiction, provincial jurisdiction, and the First Nations jurisdiction. I think as a citizen, not just as any ordinary leader, as a citizen, it is our duty to uphold this country that we embrace as Canada and
Chandra,
to respect
the floor is
rule
yours.
of law.
30 seconds.
I will not repeat what Justin Trudeau has already said about Bill 21, but I'll tell you Bill 21 is the most dangerous thing. It's the beginning of the slippery slope. It starts with that, and we don't know where it ends it. Today they talk about people working in the public service, then one day it will come inside our own home, what we can or what we should not wear. So this is absolutely, we should stand united and oppose this. There's no question that anyone, anywhere in Canada can be restrictive as this Bill 21 does in Quebec.
Thank
Not
you very
acceptable
much.
at all.
Thank you very much. Jean-Luc, the floor is yours. Sorry, Zaf, you will have a chance to speak. You'll have a chance to speak. Jean-Luc, the floor is yours. 30 seconds.
If the current legal challenge against Bill 21 that's going on in Quebec right now fails, I will call for, and I will encourage every Green MP to also call for a challenge at the federal level against it. I have friends who live in Montreal who are Jewish, who are seriously looking for places to leave that province now. So this doesn't just affect people who wear hijabs or niqabs or turbans. It affects everyone, any culture who has ever been oppressed ever in the world knows that this is how it begins, and Greens will not stand for it. Thank you.
Brian.
I mean, this is a topic when I entered politics I actually sat down and put some deep thought into. And I mean, first off, as a Canadian, who cares what people do? Let them live their lives and enjoy themselves. That's ultimately what I believe. But we as a party would never, ever, ever introduce something like this federally. We've been very clear on that. And this comes down to what our rights are in this country. We have freedom of religion, we have freedom of speech, we have freedom of belief, and we have freedom of association. Those are not ambiguous rights, and you can count on me, you can count on our party
Brian.
to always fight for those.
Zaf, you have 30 seconds to close off.
So I personally believe that every citizen, they has a right to wear what they like. They can wear we can wear whatever we like, the religious symbols. I mean, so but since this bill is even not supported even by the Liberal government, they are not opposing it. So, but personally, I think that is wrong. So, I mean, everyone has the right. I can wear whatever I want.
Thank you, Zaf. Time is up. Back to the floor for questions.
I have a question for Mr. Chandra Arya. Thank you very much for coming in here today. Referring back to your landmark achievements in your tenure, you raised the voice about Somaliland. Very well appreciated. You visited Palestine. We appreciate that as well. And Liberal government took a strong stand against Saudi Arabia. We stand right by you. But what happened when it came to the Kashmir issue? We and a lot of people in this room have sent you emails. We have called your office, but you have never responded. And we started the petition that is gone nowhere. So can I please pass this on to you today too?
Absolutely, you can pass it on. The thing is that I am originally from India, South Indian city. I know the Kashmir issue very well. Possibly only few people around here who have lived in India and Pakistan actually know what Kashmir issue is all about. When the partition happened in 1947, hundreds and thousands of people died due to this. And we have made very clear, our Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland, she has issued the statement, and I stand by it. Thank you.
The statement from Chrystia Freeland says they continue to monitor and we encourage meaningful discussions and consultations with affected communities. Ms. Freeland's statement was not condemning violence. It was not condemning the dissolution of the regional parliament. Chandra, I have to say I am personally disappointed that you weren't able to use your background and your influence in India to convince the Liberal Party and the minister to
Thank
come
you
out more
very much,
forcefully.
Jean-Luc.
Yeah, I mean, here we have it again. The Liberal Party issued a statement. They do talk a lot. That I will for sure give them that. The reality is, our Liberal government has no power in India because we bungled foreign relationships so bad over there that they don't care what we tell them. If we had positive relations with India, we can approach this issue. It's an unfortunate issue. I want to see a peaceful end to it. We need to protect human rights. I'm very concerned about it. The way Canada can have a positive and influential impact is by having strong relationships.
Zaf, 30 seconds.
So what's happening in Kashmir is very bad. From last 2 months, like 64 days almost, there's a complete blockade. No internet, no phone, no media. When all this happens, there is some human rights going on. Human rights violation is going on. So NDP, we completely denounce it, and we are in solidarity with people who are under occupation or who are suffering. So we completely denounce it.
Azim, you have 30 seconds, and then Chandra, you have the last word on this.
We are now talking about countries that are sovereign nations, just like our country. And the way to deal with it is first to respect others. Respect cannot be demanded, it cannot be imposed, it has to be earned. And this is what I'm saying to our foreign policy makers. We seem to be really abrupt and not seeing that in order to influence or even try to share, we must continue to improve relationship, not cut relationships.
Chandra Arya, you have 30 seconds to close on this.
Absolutely. As a Canadian government, we condemn violence everywhere, whether it's in Kashmir or any other part of the world. We stand for human rights for anywhere in the world, whether it's in Kashmir. That we have been very, very clear. We continue to stand by that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, on that side. It was here first. So go over there, and then we'll come back over here.
This is a question for the Conservative candidate, St. Louis. So Faith Goldie was one of 6 people in Canada banned by Facebook for organized hate due to her public, hateful, and Islamophobic views. The Conservative Party leader, Mr. Scheer, proudly shared the stage with her at Parliament with the Yellow Vest protesters from Alberta and called her best friend during his interview with her on Rebel Media 2 years ago, happily saying he'd go hunting with her. How can you expect our Muslim community to accept a leader who is proud to be closely associated with such a hateful Islamophobic individual?
I'm going to have to challenge the premise of the question. Let's be clear on what happened there. And I could not care less about Faith Goldie. She's trash. So let's just get that out of the way. Andrew Scheer did not appear at the same rally, contrary to what some news sources may have told you. There was a rally on the Hill. He spoke about the concerns around our oil and gas industry, which we should be concerned about. And then an hour later, not on the Parliament Hill, across the street on the back of a pickup truck, Faith Goldie spoke. That is not the same thing as speaking and sharing a stage with someone. Check. The facts matter in these things. And this is the type of division the Liberals are trying to play up because they want to see people scared. And don't be scared. We're here to fight for every Canadian. We are not going to associate with someone like Faith Goldie. She's human garbage. And that's the bottom line. Thank you.
Zaf?
So I think what's going on is really bad. So I really denounce the Islamophobia that's going around. So whatever is hate being given hype against minorities, we have to condemn it. So Islamophobia or like whatever the other minorities, so we have to condemn it, we have to stand with them, we have to support them. Thank you.
Azim, 30 seconds.
This brings me back to the whole thing. We have had all these things about divisions of religion, divisions by whatever. I think it is time we go back and look at the mirror, ourselves first. It starts something with ourselves. And when people look with something that is not so beautiful, look back. Why is it so? So part of the solution is that we both will have to work together. Life is a two-way street.
Thank you very
and
much.
We both have to
Chandra
correct and
Arya,
improve
you
ourselves.
have 30 seconds.
During the last 4 years, I've seen intolerance growing. White supremacist groups are gaining strength, thanks to social media, I can say. You know, we don't have to go elsewhere to see what is happening elsewhere. It's happening right here, right in Nepean. As I mentioned earlier, Jami Umar Mosque was defaced by the white supremacist groups. The tone, the attacks, the language that is being used by email, by phone call, or even in person.
Thank you,
it's become-
Chandra. Jean-Luc, 30 seconds.
You're right, Faith Goldie did not share a stage at the same time as Mr. Scheer. However, what was known to all Canadians as this caravan of trucks was coming in from Alberta is that these yellow vest people, which were nothing like these gilets jaunes en France, they were not the cream of the crop of Alberta, let's put it that way. And for Andrew Scheer to choose to speak to this group, he lent his voice and his credibility as the leader of the Conservative Party to a group that had some, by most standards, fairly fringe points of view.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To close, Brian, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I will just clarify again. He was there to support the oil and gas workers. We've lost 100,000 jobs in Alberta. We will be a government that always stands up for them. If some fringe group tries to associate with them, that's unfortunate, but don't get the messages mixed. You can decide what you believe. Ultimately, we will be a party that stands up for equality, stands up for people's rights, treats everyone equally, and I cannot be more clear about that. You will always see this from us, and if you ever don't see it from me, I want you to call me and tell me what you think right away. Thank you.
Publicly funded health care is a key value for Canadians. However, when it comes to mental health care, the fact is many Canadians pay out of pocket, even those lucky enough to have insurance and a good job. While we're a long way, and not only do they pay out of pocket, they pay taxes. So my question for each of the candidates would be, what is your party's position on removing GST, HST from counseling, psychotherapy, and related services?
Okay. Why don't we start with
I missed out the last sentence, the end of the sentence.
Could you repeat the last part of your question?
What's your party's position on removing GST, HST from the cost of psychotherapy services that people pay for out of pocket? So that's 13% on the $120, $150 an hour to help people not have anxiety, depression, etc.
Okay, I'll try to address a bigger picture, which includes part of your concern. We have realized as a new party that the way we are going with these payments, which is from the federal to the provincial. By the way, health is a provincial jurisdiction in Canada. So the way transfer funds are being made, at present it can be erratic, it depends on the climate and the political government in power. What we are trying to do is create an environment where there will be permanent transfer based on the GST that the nation collects so that the provinces can be innovative, efficient, and give you the choices that you need. This is our approach to this health, what we call support, and some people view it as their health right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You know, when we came to power, every year we transfer money from the federal government to the provincial government. The regular transfer we did. Over and above that, there's an expected increase. We transferred that too. Over and above that, we have transferred $11 billion with only two conditions. It has to go to home care, it has to go to mental illness. And in the new 2019 platform that we have just announced, we are going to increase the child disability benefit to the parents by about $2,800. We are committed to help the parents, the families with mental illness children, and we stand by. Thank you.
Whenever we hear about gun violence, they always say, oh, it's a mental health issue. The reality is that mental health is health. And removing the HST from mental health fees is an easy fix, doesn't require an act of parliament, it requires the ear of the next finance minister. So certainly I'm on board with that, but in the longer term, we have to have mental health services covered as part of our healthcare program. It just affects too many of us, and it affects our ability to work, to be active members of society and the economy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the last part of John Luke's statement. And frankly, I've seen society make a lot of progress over the last, let's say, 5-10 years talking about mental health. And I think that's a first step. As for the very specific, I will answer your question, unlike some folks here. This is not something we have in our platform right now that I'm aware of. I do think in principle we do want to support stronger mental health. So whether it's through a vehicle like this, perhaps even working that into a medical expense tax credit, so like you can claim physiotherapy and some of these things, perhaps that's something we can look at. I want to be part of a government that takes mental health seriously, tries to help people. It impacts physical health and mental health are just as impactful on people's enjoyment of life and what they're able to do in their lives, and ultimately what they can give back to their families and all of this. So it is an issue that I think governments are starting to make progress on, starting to wrap their heads around. There's a lot of work still to be done, and we're going to get that done. Thank you.
So I think we believe that mental health and addiction should have a separate fund. So as a part of the healthcare, so people whose loved ones are suffering from stress and anxiety, they should get funding from the government. So that we can give funding to the provincial government, so they can give help to the people who need help. So we believe that we should have funding for the mental health and addiction. Thank you.
So we're almost at the end of the night, so I'll get 2 more questions from the crowd. I would also ask the candidates that if it is addressed to you, you can respond. Others may choose or not choose to intervene. For the sake of time, you're more than welcome to make an intervention. And we'll get 2 more questions, and then we'll go into our closing remarks for the night. Microphone on that side.
Hi, so as a young person and as a member of this community, of course, I'm very passionate about the climate crisis going on. I saw Justin Trudeau and other political leaders at the climate crisis rallies. I was just wondering, where was Andrew Scheer at these rallies? Brian.
So I think a big contrast you're going to see with us and the Liberal government is we're going to be a party of doing, not talking and marching. I think that's really what Canadians care about. We have a great plan for the environment, a realplan.ca. I encourage you to check it out because I bet you most people haven't. We have 55 real hard commitments to improve our environment. I don't have a lot of time, so I won't get into them. It's a realplan.ca. These are actual concrete actions which will provide a roadmap once we're in government and something to be held accountable to. The carbon tax is a revenue plan because the government is broke. Taking money from small business owners and individuals to give $12.5 million to Loblaws from new refrigerators is not a plan. If you think that's a plan, you can vote for the Liberals, but check out our plan at realplan.ca, 55 real commitments. Thank you.
Zach, you have a comment?
I think the climate change is real, the global warming. So NDP, we have a plan. Like we are going to spend like $15 million on the climate change. So we can spend on the green technology projects. So we can produce more electric cars and zero emission vehicles. And so that way we can create like over 300,000 jobs as well for the youths. And we can meet the emission targets.
Thank you very much. Azim, you have the floor, 30 seconds. If you want to comment.
Yeah, indeed I do.
Okay.
Sorry, did you say 30 seconds? Not 40?
The question was addressed to Brian, so everyone has 30 seconds to respond.
Okay. I'm looking at a picture of preserving the environment. Preserving the environment. Here, we want to prioritize practical solutions to make Canada's air, water, and soil, not just air, soil, cleaner, which means that we shall not allow any more downgrading of our environment. The way we're going to do is we're going to provide incentives to vital sectors like green technology. This is a part of my Vision 2020 to establish a Nepean South high-tech corridor. This will include vital sectors like telecommunications and public sector transport.
Thank you very much. Sandra?
We have a real, affordable, and implementable plan to address climate change. Climate change is real. It is happening today. The tornadoes, the floods, the fires. And there's only one political party, rather 2 political parties here, who thinks the pollution should be free. The Conservative Party and the People's Party of Canada. They feel pollution should be free. We don't believe it. We want people to pay for pollution. and we have got a real plan that invests in people. Whatever the revenue that is being generated of it, entire amount is going back to the families.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Jean-Luc?
Andrew Scheer went to a protest where Faith Goldie appeared. He did not go to a protest where our children appeared. The Green Party's plan, obviously, on climate change is the most aggressive for all the parties, but obviously it's based on science. The scientists say we have to get to zero emissions for transportation, zero emissions for electrical generation in 10 years. This has to be done. This is just the physics. So the Green Party has a plan to do that. We remove HST from electric car purchases. We remove the tax credits and havens that a lot of the fossil fuel industry has. We start giving that back to Canadians. We start building more green energy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I should clarify something right away, and I've heard you say this multiple times, and it's a lie, frankly. There is a price on pollution for big emitters under our plan. Over 40 kilotons, big emitters are exempt. Who do they want to pay it? They want you to pay it, and small businesses. The Liberals say we have no plan. We rolled out a green home renovation tax credit, as well as a big part of our plan is focused on technology and market development in our heavy industry, natural resources. This was all part of our plan that came out in June. The Liberals say we have no plan, and then they stole it and re-announced this in the last week or two. So read our plan, arealplan.ca.
Thank you very much.
You can make your own decisions. You're all smart enough to decide. Thank you.
So one more from the floor. I have one question here that came from folks on the floor as well. This is to the Liberal and Conservatives. Other candidates, please raise your hand if you want to respond following these directions. Now that we have medical assistance in death made as a legal option to end of life, what is your plan policy for the people who opt to take palliative care and dying at home or hospice? Both palliative care and hospice care are underfunded. Thank you.
We did pass a bill for the first time in Canada where medically assisted dying is made possible. Recently, a Quebec court came out with certain suggestions to the federal government to make changes. Our leader has already announced that we are sympathetic to making those changes, and we will do that.
Thank you. Brian?
Thank you. Yes, as noted, the Supreme Court did rule on this, so governments were expected to act. There is basically a 5-year revisiting of this legislation, so that'll be about, I think, 2022. This is something we're committed to as a party. We need to respect the Supreme Court ruling while also protecting the most vulnerable, and I think that's a reasonable balance that we should all seek to achieve. The Liberals did promise billions, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, for palliative care. It's a huge issue. I have multiple relatives actually that work in palliative care. We need to do better. We got to get the funding there and make sure they're getting taken care of. And we will review the legislation as well.
Thank you very much. Anyone to respond? Anyone to add?
Yeah, the other candidates?
Thank you. My mother-in-law works in respite care. So those of you who are taking care of someone who's at the end of their life, who's chosen not to end their lives through medically assisted, understand that it is a huge burden. It's draining. It does need more help, frankly, it does. There are many retirement communities in Bell's Corners that also provide this kind of care, and we do need more of it because not everyone is ready to go out with quickly. They want to hang on as long as they can to see their grandchildren as long as they can, and they need the support.
Thank you. The last question from the floor. I don't know where the mics are. Mics are here.
Actually, Azim, did you want to respond to?
Go ahead.
This question also goes back to our principles of individual freedom, personal responsibility. We do expect changes with time, and as a riding member, we want to hear your voice. So when 2022 comes, your voice counts, it matters, and we will take whatever we feel necessary as a federal to try to ensure that the province is able to meet the needs of your healthcare needs.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My question is related to outsourcing in public service. It is said that Brian mentioned Phoenix. It is the result of consultants, and then billions of dollars are paid to the consultants in previous government, and it didn't reduce much in case of Liberal government as well. What are your plans to strengthen the capacity of the public service? And second, if I quickly ask, What is the food security issue? We talked about climate, but is a direct implication are on the food security, and no, seems like no party has any plan. Thank you.
Brian, 45 seconds.
Okay, those are two very separate topics, and in 45 seconds, I don't think I can do it justice. So I'm going to stick with the first one quickly. I've met thousands of public servants. I grew up in Barhaven. These are my friends and family. We need to do a better job of listening to the people that work in the departments. Too often, it's a heavy top-down from the political side, from the deputy minister. They have no idea what's going on in the departments, and this is what leads to these problems. So I've actually met with some of the folks dealing with Phoenix. I know the stage we're at now. Basically, we're going to have to make some bold decisions, get things moving ahead. We can sit here and point fingers in the past. I think there's a lot of blame to go around with both political parties. I'll admit that. That's a non-political statement. Things failed. Let's get it fixed. Let's make a bold decision, and it starts with engaging and using our talented public servants to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did any of the other candidates want to?
You know, we work very closely with the unions, especially the union called PIPS, which represent most of the engineers and other professionals. We are working with them on all the things that can be done in respect to outsourcing. On Phoenix, let me touch it very quickly. There are about 10,000 employees living in the riding of Nepean who work for the Federal Public Service. As of last week, only about 63 of them Phoenix cases are still pending in my office. I want it to go to zero. I want every single employee who has approached our office for help in Phoenix should get the issue resolved. We have worked down.
Thank you very much. John?
So I'm a software engineer, and I've worked with systems that are mission critical. Whenever you switch it out, you always run two systems in parallel until they both agree for sufficiently long enough that you feel safe making the switch. Clearly, they did not do that. Now, your real central question is about core competence within the public service and outsourcing. The public service can use outsourcing to make things more efficient, make things faster, but they cannot sacrifice core competence. So on that, the Green Party is 100% behind that. We've gotten many requests from PIPS, PSAC, and CAPE.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Azim, Zaf, and then close with Brian.
This is typical of governments that think they are big and that they know it all. You think that other countries don't have a computerized paying system? We are only 35 million in Canada. America has 300, and we have UK with almost same language as us with 70 million, and Japan. So this is not like creating something fantastic. We have not learned, and the government is used to spending taxpayers' dollar without really thinking too much behind it. So
Thank
it
you
is
very
wasting
much.
of the dollars,
Zaf,
and that is a problem
you
with
have the
big
floor,
deficit
30
government
seconds.
spending.
I think for Phoenix, like most of the issues has been resolved. I think, and employees are, most of them, they are getting paid, and so I know that the government is trying to come up with another system that will be robust. So that's what I can say. So, but I think the problem is like pretty much fixed right now.
Thank you. Brian, to close.
This is interesting. So I've knocked personally about 14,000 doors. This is the opposite of what I'm hearing, what these guys are telling me. There's still a lot of people being impacted by Phoenix. A lot of people owed money. A lot of people that haven't got things sorted out. I met a lady the other day in Half Moon Bay in Chandler. She told me she emailed your office, and she was told basically there's nothing we can do. And I'd be happy to find her name, and you can check this out for yourself. But I think ultimately there was a decision that was supposed to be made before the election. They're at a point now, where they're going to run a new program within one of the departments. It's the Heritage Department.
Thank you
This
very
is what's
much,
going
Brian.
on. We need to get that going. That decision should have been
Thank you,
made by
Brian.
now, but we'll get it made. Thank you.
So this is the end of our segment.
One
We'll have a
question, please.
chance to have.
One question to
I
Chandra.
apologize. You can ask the candidates personally afterwards.
Personally, I know that he's not going to reply. I just want to ask in public.
I apologize. As I said earlier, that was the last question.
Because he ran away from
I
the question.
apologize, sir. Please.
Please,
Okay, so
please
now-
respect the rules.
No, I respect them, and we are waiting like since.
We could
for
argue
the
all
questions.
night, but please respect the rules. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have a moment for everyone to have 2 minutes to close, and we will have that in the reverse order of how we started the opening statements today. I want to just say, before everyone leaves here tonight, it is important to be informed as voters We are here to be informed, do your research, look into voting. I want to recognize SNMC as well, because from what I hear, there will be a polling station located at SNMC. So a big part of this push today is for us to know what everyone is offering, to hear their voices, for them to answer our questions, and for us to be informed voters. And that's the key thing to leave with today. Now I'll open the floor. We started with Azim, I believe, so we'll go in reverse order from this end and then end off with Azim. Each have 2 minutes to close off. Once that is complete, I'll open up the floor to Naeem.
Thank you.
Zaf, you have 2 minutes.
So this election is very important. So I say, so it boils down to the affordability. So right now, like I've been knocking on the doors, and what I'm hearing is the services, everything is getting expensive, from childcare to Medicare, everything that we rely on day to day. So we have a plan, and we are committed in the investment of the healthcare system, so we can include the farmer care, so everyone can have access to the medicines, to all the medicines, immigrants or citizens. And we are committed to make the childcare, universal childcare, so we have more spots, so parents can work, so they don't have to give up their job, and it would be affordable childcare. And we are trying to waive the federal interest on the student loans, so students, they can concentrate on finding jobs instead of like burden of paying the taxes on their loans that the liberal government is right now. Students, they are forcing them to pay, and they're making money out of it. So I'm asking you, like on October 21st, so please, if you are like family raising your kids, then these are the important things. Like the affordability is a big issue. Like, can you afford, like, so if you have someone other than liberal or conservative, so they can influence the decision. If you have a majority government, they will do whatever they want, and then after 5 years, they will come back and make empty promises. And if you have it's a good that if you have a minority government, so and other parties get chance, so they can influence the decisions, and they can fight for you. So if I'm elected, I will fight for you. I will fight for your family. I will fight for your kids.
Thank you very much, Zaf. 2 minutes.
Thank you. This election comes down to a simple question. Who do you trust to represent you and make your life more affordable? Who do you trust to make sure you get ahead? I am running for a party with a real plan to put money back in your pocket. We'll scrap the carbon tax, remove the GST from home energy bills, scrap the income tax on maternity and parental benefits. We will bring in a universal tax credit that will benefit everybody, reintroduce children's activity and education credits that were scrapped by the Liberals, boost our ESP contributions, increase the age credit to help seniors. We will also implement a public transit tax credit and a green home renovation credit. These will all save you money. We know what Justin Trudeau's priorities are. He lies, embarrasses Canadians, is a shocking hypocrite, all while raising taxes on 80% of middle-income families. He imposes a religious values test on places of faith who disagree with him. He spends millions of taxpayers' dollars on exotic vacations and then thousands on in-flight alcohol. He is more concerned with marching in parades than governing our country. Justin Trudeau is spending billions overseas while you sit in traffic. He throws anyone who questions him under the bus, including members of your own party. Nepean knows we are not on the right track under this government. I've seen tonight an MP that's willing to play identity politics and saying corruption and erosion of our justice system is no big deal. Many here do not need a lecture from me on what this can do to a country. I will never stand for this. It is time for a change, and I will be that change. I will be your fresh voice. My name is Brian St. Louis, and I'm asking for your vote on October 21st. Shukran jazilan. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much, South Nepean Muslim Center. Once again, you've come through and held an all-candidate debate. If you ever get the chance to see the Rogers debate from last night, this is immensely civilized compared to what we had the other night. So thank you very much. Very thoughtful and very provoking questions. This is my third election. I have run federally for the Green Party 3 times now, and every time it is an invigorating and exhausting process. I'm asking you now, this is 2019, the scientists of the world are screaming at the top of their lungs. Our children are now marching in the streets, begging the adults in the country to do something about climate change and to really consider that the Green Party, in a minority parliament, will be able to hold the party's feet to the fire. I've put in the work, I continue to put in the work, and I will continue to be the person I always am. I just will happen to have a little title beside me, and I'll be there to represent you and bring your voice to Parliament. Please consider voting Green on October 21st. If not now, then when? Thank you.
5 years back, I was not a member of any political party. I joined with certain objectives. 3. 1, affordable housing. Number 2, there are 11 million working Canadians with no workplace pension. 11 million working Canadians. So I wanted to work for the retirement security of our seniors. The third objective, we are going towards a global knowledge-based economy. Our Canada is rich, prosperous, we have high standards of living, thanks to the natural resources, oil, gas, minerals, forestry products. But the future is in knowledge-based economy. I wanted to make sure that Canada is at the forefront so that our children and grandchildren continue to enjoy the same level of prosperity that we enjoy today. During the last 4 years, you have seen me. I ask you to judge based on what I have done. You know, I had met, I think, over 1,100 people one-on-one on the issues that are of concern to them. I have attended over 1,150 events in Nepean and Ottawa. I have organized 17 town hall meetings related to seniors, pharmacare, innovation, and so many other things. I have organized 27 cultural community events on Parliament Hill. I have met 430 advocacy groups. I don't have any business. My family is very small, me, wife, and only son who works in Toronto. I don't play golf. I don't watch TV much. All the time I have is for the community, and many of you have seen me that. I am available for anybody, anytime. You know, I'm glad that I'm a member of Liberal Party. We invest in Canadian families. We have done in the last 4 years. We will continue to do the same thing in the next 4 years too.
Thank you very much, Chandra.
There is a disparity, an increasing disparity between how we want to live our life, the choices we want to make in our living, and what is out there for employment and opportunities to build our lives. We are a party, a new party with a vision. And part of the vision is prosperity through a robust economy. We do not believe that the government is the one that will provide you prosperity. We shall reduce the government spending so that we don't have debt where the monies that are used to serve 35 billion a year to service debt. Can you imagine that figure every year going to invest in you and putting Canada first? This is our vision. We also want to establish, as it says, we are no longer going to be dependent on resource. We have to have a paradigm shift in how this prosperity will actually happen. The paradigm shift is clear. We need to enhance competitiveness and be innovative. I have a vision to establish a high-tech corridor. The Nepean South, what we lost in Kanata with Notel and the $100 billion disaster, we can bring it back. We shall have incentives to vital sectors such as the green technologies, the information communication technology, and the artificial intelligence, which is digital-centric. This is my vision. This is my vision. It takes time. It is when you and the young one today, when they graduate, will see a future that I saw in my old days. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I hope you look at my website, which has got a well-articulated policy on all matters. We are a party, a new party, but with 315 federal nominations.
Thank you very much, Jesse.
Thank you.
Once again, Thank you, everyone, for being here in SNMC. Naeem, the floor is yours to close.
Thank you, Ahmed. All right, so everyone, so first of all, really, I really appreciate, I had asked at the top of the evening that we conduct this entire assembly in an appropriate manner because of the venue we are in. The venue should not matter, but it was really important to me personally. I really appreciate everyone's civility from the candidates to the audience as well. First of all, sincere thank you to all the candidates for joining us this evening, letting your voice be heard to the community. Best of luck from a neutral perspective. Best of luck with each of your respective campaigns. To the community members, you had an opportunity to ask some questions, listen to some answers. Make your voice heard on voting day. That will speak volumes, right? We could sit here and we could continue to ask more questions. We could argue outside somewhere. That will not accomplish anything. Really, October 21st, go to the voting polling stations, vote, and that's make your voice heard. I'd like to also thank SNMC for allowing this entire event to happen here. Brother Zulfikar, would you like to make any closing remarks?
Jazakallah khair. Well, you said it all. Just thank you all the candidates and thank you the community members that came here and asked a lot of questions. And inshallah, next time, which will be 4 years from now, we will try to do better. We will try to get the gym upstairs. Gym was not available at this time, so we could not arrange that. So we will do that next time, and we'll have bigger ideas, and we will invite the candidates. Hopefully, some of them will return. Maybe all of them will return next time, and we will have a bigger debate. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Jazakallah.